Hello. Today I have two different versions of a dual rail four-way minecart intersection. Both are fairly compact and relatively easy to use and build. However, this larger one on the right here is actually a little bit simpler and its symmetry is a little bit more pleasing to the eye in my opinion, so I'll be showing that one. If anyone wants me to go over this other one here as well, be sure to let me know in the comments and I'll see if I can get a tutorial up for that one as well. It isn't quite as straightforward because the redstone is a little bit trickier trying to hem it all in there, but it might have some use for some people. Alright, with that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and show you how this one operates. There's some similarities to my other minecart rail intersections, but we'll go over this one all the same. So you hop in the minecart, and when the player approaches the intersection, you're presented with three different buttons corresponding to the three different directions. So if you want to go left, push the left button. If you want to go right, push the right button. And if you want to go straight forward, click the button that's a little bit more forward. So we'll go ahead and test these. And now this is a dual rail system. So you've got rails going in and rails going out. If you want to see one with one rail for each intersection, I have a video up for that as well. I'll put a link in the description. Alright, as you can see, everything ran pretty smoothly there. And you can even have some room for decoration and some signs. Now, the nice thing about this build is it is relatively compact and surprisingly simple to build for this type of functionality. Alright, I'm going to go over and show you what this all involves now. Alright, so here's what it looks like with everything stripped away, just showing the redstone and the rails. As you can see, it doesn't take up a lot of space, although it does get a little complicated and a little tricky in here, but we'll go over that in a tutorial. And you can see there is a way to make this use less space vertically, just using this middle row and the supporting blocks. But unfortunately, it does mean that a couple of these blocks will need redstone on top, and that will limit the way you can decorate this. This way is a little bit more useful, and so this is the one I'm going to show. So the basic premise behind the operation here is that we want to minimize the number of switches that we have to make. And so the way this is set up, for example, if I want to go straight, this is the button I would click, and so the route goes like that. You'll notice along this route, the only intersection that needs to change is this one right here. And so really, that's all this button does. To go to the right, as you can see, nothing needs to change, making this button fairly simple. The only trickier one here is when you want to go left. I've got it so the carts will move around this ring in a counterclockwise fashion, hoping to minimize conflict if you have multiple riders and carts. And really, the only intersections that need to change are this one and this one, but it's quite a bit easier to wire all four of these buttons into the middle, and so actually all four of these are going to change. It's just going to be a timing issue. We want them to change back once the minecart has passed this intersection and before it gets to this one. So when you build this, you'll have to tweak the timing a little. Once you've got it set, though, you shouldn't have any issues after that. And so we'll go ahead and click this button here, and all four of those change, and then they change back. Now, a couple things about this intersection style. The main features are the buttons are on the floor ground level here, and then the station actually drops down one level here as well. The reason being is that you want minecarts to enter the station and then stop on this incline. And the idea is that so when you push the button, it'll automatically get powered in the correct direction. You won't have to push forward or do anything like that. And you will have to take some care that the speed of the minecarts is such that they stop here. And you may or may not need this initial powered rail here. For faster minecarts, it acts as a little extra brake. But for slower minecarts, you won't want that there at all. Because they'll have plenty of speed, or they'll be going slow enough that they'll just stop on that angle. So a little bit of care is taken there. However, there is a number of things we can do to affect this. For instance, you might even consider dropping this down 2 levels, giving 2 block incline. That way, you know, the slower minecarts can stop up higher, while those faster ones have a little more room to stop up lower. Not really going to affect the build too much. And, well, I'll go ahead and get into the tutorial now. Alright, now for the tutorial build here, go ahead and start with a 7 by 7 square, and this will be the inner track with the loop here. And now from each face of this, each side of the square, we'll do the inbound and outbound lines, and that's just going to be 4 blocks on either centered, on either side of that center block there. And then we'll go one more and one up like this on a diagonal. All right, now these are going to get powered lines, and I'll go ahead and cap that end one there. You may or may not need it, again, depending on the speed of your minecarts. And now the nice thing about the dual rail designs here is that we don't need to power this outbound rail with buttons. We can just keep it always powered on, just like that. All right, and now we're going to repeat this for all 4 sides. Okay, once you've done all 4 sides, you should have something that looks like this. All right, now we're going to get these intersections going in the right directions here. So from the center of the loop here, you're going to face the powered line. This is the right-hand one, and we're going to just drop this down 1 and in 1 and delete that block there. And we'll do that for all 4 there. And now we're going to put torches on the reverse sides, just like that. And we'll do this the same for all 4 here. All right, now this is going to tell us what we need to do to adjust. So what we're looking for is from the outbound line here, we want this curving to the outside corner. Now 2 of these are going to be correct and 2 are going to be incorrect. So that one's correct. This one's incorrect. It's going the other direction. That's incorrect as well. And here's the other correct one right there. So for the ones that are going the way we don't want them, we're going to have to make a couple adjustments. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually drop this down and in 1 more just like that. And we're also going to put another block on this side as well, just like this with this little trio of blocks. And we're going to put a torch directly under the one that we already had, turning it off. All right, let's go see where the other one is. Okay, so now this is correct here, going to the outside corner. All right, here's the other incorrect one. We're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to need to drop this down 1 and put another block there. We'll delete that. So again, we have this little trio of blocks. Put a torch right under the first one, turning it off. And I'll show you why this block's important later on. Okay, so now all these outbound lines should be going to the outside corner, and they all look pretty good. Now we're going to do the inbound line. Slightly different position for the block here. This one, we're going to go on to the along the track feeding into it. We'll put a block right there, and we'll do this for all 4 sides, just like that. And now, instead of the outside, we're going to put the torches on the inside, so that they're underneath the intersection. Again, for all 4. And now we're going to take a look and see which ones are correct and which ones are incorrect. Okay, so again, the correct ones are going to be where the track feeds to that outside corner. And so for the correct ones, we don't need to change anything. We can keep that block and torch there. Oh, here's another correct one, so that's got to stay there. All right, here's an incorrect one. It's going the wrong direction. We're just going to go ahead and delete the block and torch altogether, and now it's corrected. And same with this one. That one's incorrect. We're going to have to delete that block and torch. Okay, so now they all should look the same, but the insides, you're going to have 2 of these with the 3-block cluster, where these just have the symbol there. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and add the buttons. So from the inbound line, facing the loop, we're going to do 2 on the right and 1 on the left. That's where we're going to put the buttons. Now, for this last, you can leave this little gap here so it's easier to tell which ones it is, but this could eventually be some decoration, or you can put a sign there with your destinations. We'll just leave the gap there for now. So we'll repeat that on all 4 sides, with 1 on the left, 2 on the right, and do some buttons. Left, right, and buttons. 1 on the left, 2 on the right, and there's the buttons. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and wire these buttons. We're going to start with that single leftmost one. All right, go into the center here like this, and you'll face it from underneath. We're going to drop down 2 and delete the center, and then just drag this right into the middle like that. We're going to drop down 2, delete the center, drag that right to the middle, do the same thing here, and finally for the last one. All right, now we're going to fill this into a nice 3 by 3 area, just like that. All right, we're going to do some little bit of wiring now. And from below the button, we're going to do 2 redstone dust and then 2 repeaters facing in. And then one of these repeaters just put on 2 ticks. This is going to be the timing of that circuit we had mentioned earlier. And if we need to make adjustments, this is where we're going to make them later. I'll show you that. So 2 dust and 2 repeaters, and 1 on the 2 ticks. 2 dust, 2 repeaters, and 1 on 2 ticks. Okay, so that's those. Now we got to do the center. Now you'll see for the ones that have the 2 blocks diagonally from each other here, we're going to do a repeater facing the rightmost block. Just like that. Again, repeater facing this rightmost block. And then for the other 2, with just a single block, just put the repeater straight into that single block. And now we just fill the middle with redstone, just like that. Okay, now we're going to wire up the right-hand buttons here. And this is going to get a little bit trickier, but it's not going to start off too bad. Okay, so we're going to do this topmost button first. Drop down 2, and then we're just going to go straight into that, just like there. Didn't mean to place that one. Okay, so we're going to put some dust. Now you'll notice that this torch is lighting up this line, and we don't want that to happen, so we're going to insulate it with a repeater, just like that. And now we'll go ahead and do this one over here. Again, this is a line with the single torch, not the double torch. All right, drop it down. Let me pull that here. Now this one doesn't have that torch hanging off to the side, so we can just use regular redstone there. All right, now we're going to go ahead and do the ones with the double torches here. And this is going to get a little technical, so bear with me here. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to drop this down and then delete that center. We're going to drop down from the button, delete the center. And now it's going to go back up, and then this is also going to go back down. We can get rid of that other block there. So you're going to do a little up and down here. Put a little dust in the cubby hole. I'm going to put a repeater right there, and dust below the button. All right. I know it looks a little complicated, and that's just how we need to do it. All right, so the other one with the 2 torches here, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go 2 down there. We're going to go 2 down there, delete the middle. We're going to go back up, and this one's going to go back down again. So now again, we put the little dust in the cubby hole, put a repeater right there, and dust right there. Now, one slight variation here is that because of this neighboring block, it's actually going to get power from this dust, and we don't want that. So we're going to force it to face the direction that we want, add a block to the end, put a repeater there. And that's all that repeater is doing. It's just making this go the direction we want. And the repeater is also insulating the line from this button because we don't want that to interfere there as well. Okay, well, that's the wiring, that's the build. I'll go ahead and show you to test it out here. All right, so this button, again, doesn't have to change any intersections. All it's got to do is power this, so it's pretty simple. And that works just fine. For the one that's going straight, we only need to change this intersection, and so that's all that should do. Okay, that works good. And then here's the little bit trickier one. This is actually going to change all 4 of the outbound intersections. And again, this is a timing issue, so let's go ahead and test that. They all 4 change. And then again, you want your minecarts to have passed this area, and before they get to here, this will have changed back. And like I said before, this is going to depend on the speed of your minecarts, and there's a number of things that can affect that speed. So once you've decided to fill this in, decorate it, make it pretty, one thing to note, if you put things next to the track on the sides here, whether it be full blocks, half slabs, bushes, signs, carpet, whatever, they are going to slow down your minecarts, and especially if you do it in the corners. And so that's one of the things that can majorly affect the timing. And so if you find that your minecarts are slowing way down, you're going to need a little extra time for this, and then that's where adjusting these repeaters come in. So if you need a little bit more time, add a little bit more delay, and you can experiment with that to get it just right. Alternately, you can keep the minecart speed up, by adding some powered rail in the center here. Now the easiest way to do that is to power these corners. We'll add the powered rail there and put a torch on top, just like that. And this will keep the speed up. As you might even find that minecarts will grind to a halt if you got a lot of obstructions. However, some people don't like their redstone torches and stuff to show. So what we can do instead is, instead of putting that there, we can power it from below. You're going to have a little bit more limitation doing it this way, though. So we can do that. Put a torch there. Now you'll notice that this torch interferes with this line. So anytime that happens, add a repeater, and that'll insulate it. It's not going to change the timing significantly of your tracks. This one's going to be a little harder to power because most of the time it's taken up by space here. So you probably won't be able to do those ones from below. All right, well, thanks for watching. And be sure to check out my other videos, particularly the ones on railroads. You might see a few other things there. Well, good luck with your Minecraft creations.